Hi, welcome back. This is another creative note-taking video. We have another topic to discuss. Actually, I just really miss writing my notes as a student. That is why I am doing this. And I hope that somehow this would help you understand more the particular topic that is being given a creative note-taking about. So this time we're going to be talking about the voice of the verb, which indicates if the subject is the doer or the receiver of the action, as I have written there. What I always tell my students is that there are two types when we are speaking of the voice of the verb. So you're going to find out in a while what these two types are, and hopefully once you see them, you are never going to forget them. So even if you reach adulthood, even if you're working, when you are shown the voice of the verb, you have to know the active and the passive voice there. So these are the two types of voices that we are going to be giving a focus on. Alright, so here I've already done a calligraphy of the word active voice, which means that I will be writing something about it. So to define, the active voice is when the subject is the doer of the action. So if you're going to look at the sentence and you know that the subject is the doer of the action, then the voice of that sentence is active. For example, so a very cliche and always often used example is my mother baked some cookies. So I wrote there that the subject is my mother and baked is the verb. So if your subject is the one doing the action, then you know that the sentence is inactive. And right away, after I have done that sentences, I already wrote here the passive voice. So this time, the subject here is the receiver of the action. And you will notice that I will use the exact same set of words that I have used in the previous sentence. But the subject has been changed and the form of the verb has also been changed. And I wrote there two sentences because I would like to show you the two ways on how you are going to transform the active to the passive. One is with the doer of the action and the other one is without the doer of the action anymore. So basically it has the subject as the receiver of the action and the verb form has already been changed. So when do we use the active voice? So unfortunately, I wasn't able to do a recording of how I wrote these words. So instead, I will show you a doodle of myself laughing out loud because of my small mishap. So basically, you are going to use the active voice if you want the doer of the action to be emphasized or to be the main topic. Whereas if you want to use the passive voice instead, for example, you just want to, forget about the doer of the action, you can always give emphasis to the one receiving the action. So in this case, the direct object. So sometimes as writers, we tend to do a bit of a change. That's why we use the passive voice. This time, in this part of the video, I'm going to show you the basics of how to transform the active to the passive voice. Maybe you can do that as well when you want to transform the passive to the active voice. So let's say my sentence is, I will change this sentence. That's pretty creative, right? So number 1, you have to look for or to identify the doer and the receiver of the action. So that's I and the sentence. Next, you are going to interchange them. So you're going to put the receiver now as the subject. And then you're going to put I, change it to objective, which is me. And then you're going to transform the verb. So it cannot be will change. Instead, you're going to be writing will be changed. And then you're going to write by beside the doer of the action. So your new sentence is, the sentence will be changed by me. So this is already in the passive, and the first sentence we wrote is in active. Here is a table, a better representation of how you're going to transform from active to passive. So basically, I will just be presenting to you the tense of the verb and their corresponding verb forms in the active voice. And I actually made a mistake here, so just ignore that part. It's one of those unerasable parts that I cannot really edit anymore. So instead of doing it again, let's just continue with this particular part of the video. That's true for all creative note takers, so there will always be mistakes, so you don't have to be afraid of that as well. So I have chosen the word eat as our sample verb. So we're going to use the word eat in all of these tenses of the verb in the active voice. Then later you're going to find, or you're going to see, how they will be transformed into their passive form. So there we go. You can just pause the video if you want to just check how you're going to write the verb. It's very simple. Once you already know the doer of the action and the receiver of the action in the sentence that you are trying to change, remembering these verbs will just be piece of cake actually. So all you need to do is remember all of those things, and it won't be a really big problem anymore. So right now I'm already transforming them to passive. Actually trying to remember how we're going to do that. So there were a lot of pauses on my part when I was writing these, and as you can see, there are bits and pieces that I've forgotten to write, so it's okay. It doesn't really ruin the creative note at all. And you can already see how the verb has completely changed from active to passive. And it is very important for you to know this, especially if you are transforming the sentences. So I am just basically completing the table. There is nothing else that I think I need to explain about the topic. When you are doing creative note-taking, writing for your lectures, I believe it's very effective if you are using your hands whenever you are listening to your teacher or your professor. It promotes retention in your memory much more than just basically taking a picture online. That's why it's very much important for me to share this, because this was a passion of mine back then. And I hope that you have learned something. So I will be uploading these pictures also on my other handles or my other social media accounts. So if you are interested, you can just simply go there and check them out. So they are going to be helping you a lot. So thank you once again for listening to me.